Hello. In this third video in the series, I want to look into a bug I recently noticed in the older builds from the past few days. I noticed that if I run the game through the IDE by pressing Shift F10 or by using the Run tab up here, the fonts appear different. So actually, let me just undo a change I just made. So the font here before was called Courier, and if I run that, this is what it looked like. There it is. And if I build the game and then go into my file explorer and run it from there, you'll see that the fonts are different. So here it is run by the IDE, and here it is run through the file explorer. These are the same build. I literally just compiled these from the same code, but you see here that the fonts are different. Here is the compiled one in the IDE, and here's the output from a few seconds ago. Yeah, so I'm looking here, and I see, if you look, the S's are different. Here, I don't know what it's called exactly. I think it's called a serif, or something like that. I'm not a fonts expert. I know people who are, though. They could tell me what this is. But I think it's called a serif, and you see here the S has one. There's also one present on the H, but there isn't one over here. So let me try changing that name to something else. Let's try running it there. So here in the IDE, the font is the same. And if I build and run it through File Explorer, now it's the same. So that is that first bug fixed. I just want to make sure that the text here is displayed consistently, because when the fonts were different, they were different widths, and so this text on the right side was displayed incorrectly. So the drawString method that handles this, it's right here. It starts drawing the string in the top left corner of that, almost like a text box. So it starts drawing from here. And so if I draw this one, I draw it from this point. So I have to subtract. So what it does is it takes the width of the screen and then subtracts an amount to get it here. And I had it hard-coded to subtract a certain amount, and it was set up properly for this font, but not for the other one. And that resulted in this version string getting chopped off. So now I should be able to use the same number across all versions, and it should work just fine. So I'm going to subtract 210 pixels, and that looks good to me. And now that the font is consistent, it should work across all devices, making sure that it doesn't get chopped off or anything like that. Alright, so that's the first thing. Next part is, and you just saw it there, in the last video, I added the ability to stomp on the robots. And I like that idea. I like that feature a lot, but I want to change it slightly so that it's easier to stomp on robots, because I want players to do it more often. And I'm not worried about it balancing-wise, because the robots are pretty easy to avoid anyway, and I kind of want the player to want to destroy the robots anyway. I want that to affect the score. So first, let's change the code for determining if the player has defeated an enemy. So that's done in the player class. In the I should add there we go. And I should add it's in this method right here. Let's see. If we kill the enemy, y momentum is equals negative y momentum. So that's the balance there. And you'll see here that the check is first the player has to be moving downward. So y move is greater than 0. So they have to be moving downward. And their new y position plus their height divided by 2 has to be less than the enemy's height. Or, sorry, the enemy's y position, which is their top. Which, because the player and the enemy are about the same height, that means that basically you have to hit the enemy. You have to hit the enemy, and the top half of the player needs to be completely above the robot on that tick. I think I'd rather not have this section of the code right here, and instead just say that you have to be above them slightly. You have to be above them slightly, and you need to be moving downward. Let's see how that goes. First, I have to find a robot. There is one. Okay. All right. Next thing is we made it so that the player can bounce off of the robots, but that only works when they hit them from above and destroy them. I think I'd like to, if I can actually land on this guy. There we go. I think I'd like to change that so that if you run into an enemy at any point, you do bounce off of them. That might be fun, I think. So let's set that up. So what I'm going to do is, if we don't kill the enemy, if we didn't kill them, then I want the player's x momentum to equal to be inverted. So x momentum equals negative x momentum, and we'll see how that goes. So now we should bounce off of enemies. But of course that only really works when you hit one. Okay, that's not really what I wanted. Okay. What we could do is we could have a check to see if the player is left or right of the enemy. Or better yet, what we could do is x momentum plus equals enemy dot get x momentum. Let's see how that goes. So if the enemy hits you while you're moving fast, you'll get pushed off of them. That might be better. Alright, there should be a robot to my left. Oh yeah, that's pretty crazy. Maybe I shouldn't have you get hit so hard by those. Let's see. Let's see how that goes. That's a bit too much, I think. Yeah. So let's do divide by 2. So half of the robot's momentum. And tactically momentum here. So I think in real life momentum is yeah. I remember from Portal, function is momentum is a function of mass and velocity. and it's preserved between portals. So, um, so um, that should technically mean, since at least in my head the robots are heavier than the player, that should mean actually that the player. So since X momentum here is not factoring in their velocity, so really it should be called X speed or something like that, not momentum. That's some fake physics for you there. Don't call it momentum. That's just wrong. Um, in fact, I might have to refactor the code to account for that because I'm not sure if I'd be happy with that. Um, I think I will actually. I think I will do that. And so, technically speaking, that would mean that because, at least in my head, the player is lighter than the robots, that means that the player should bounce off of the robots, and their speed after that should be greater than what the robot had. Um, but I'm not thinking I want it to be that strong, so I think for gameplay reasons we're not going to do that, and then I'll probably end up renaming this to be X speed or something like that later on. Yeah. Alright. We are now 11 minutes in, and I think the next thing I want to do is I want to start adding power-ups. Yeah, power-ups. So, we already started adding power-ups before. Well, I did, I just didn't show it off in the video. So here is the power-up class as I've written it so far. You'll see that it extends the entity class, which I've already written. So it contains lots of code that could be useful for checking level collisions, rendering, ticking, that sort of thing. And this class is also used for the enemies and a player. And we're going to, what it's going to do is, in the event, we're going to modify the player collision class so that if they run into a power-up, the player's power-up will switch to that. So if they have none and they've run into a jetpack power-up, they'll get the jetpack. That sort of thing. So first, there's not. I mean, if I go in the, I think the enemy is the simplest entity right now besides power-ups. So we've got a plan movement class. We have the constructor, which does everything that the existing constructor for power-ups does. We tick, which just means we plan movement and then we move. And then we render. Okay, so what I'm thinking is when it's created, we will, so if math.random is greater than 0.5, we're going to have it move left, otherwise right, and it'll just slide across the world. And also, if it is going to hit a... These are going to work the same way that they do in Mario, basically, where if they hit a wall, they're going to bounce off of it and go the other direction. That's what I've decided. So first, I've written a number generator to have them either move left or right, and then so if that condition is met, we're going to X momentum. So if it doesn't really matter. Let's do let's set it to 1. That's a pretty slow speed. It should be good. Else X momentum equals -1. There we go. And then for every tick, now how does the move class work again? So we check collisions and then we do stuff. Okay. And we have to set an X move value though. Okay, so first, how do we do that in enemies? Plan movement. Okay. And this doesn't need to be nearly as complicated for the power-ups. We just need to take those values and then set them to the momentum. It's that simple. Also, we have to apply gravity, that too. So, how am I applying gravity right now? How am I applying gravity? Oh, there we go. There's a default gravity value, which is set by the enemy as opposed to the entity. Do they have the same? Okay, that's probably not good. I probably should change that at some point. But what's important right now is that they have the same value. So we'll set that now. Default gravity equals 0.1 F. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. So let's do public. Actually, it should probably go above tick and render. Public void move. Oh wait, we can't call it that because that's a method in the entity class. So we should do. You know what? I'll just put it in the tick class because it's the tick method because it's so simple. So y momentum plus equals default gravity, and then x move oh, hold up. First I should set those to be 0. So x move equals 0. Y move actually should not be set to 0. Yes, it should actually. Y move equals 0. So x move will be set to x momentum. Y move will be set to y momentum. And after that, we'll do move. I think it should be that simple. How does the tick method work in the enemy class again? We plan movement and then we move. Okay. So next, I need to make a sprite for these, which should be simple enough. Let me just open Paint and let's open the properties. We'll make the sprite like an 8x8 thing, just to fit the theme. I think the player is approximately that size too. Although I do actually double the size of all the sprites before they're actually put in the game, just so they appear bigger. I could have scaled them, I know, but I didn't feel like it. Maybe I'll make an HD version of the game or something like that later. Let's get the grid lines in. And what is a jetpack supposed to look like? I think I'll put like some flames. There, yeah. And then I'm gonna try and make it look kind of like the jetpack from Club Penguin. Not sure how many people remember that game. That looks kind of like it, at least how I remember it. But I think the tips of the rockets were yellow, maybe slightly darker and closer to orange. And then let's add a bit of shading on that. Let's turn off the grid lines now, and let's also make it slightly brighter in those spots. And I'll also make the left one it's just slightly brighter, just because I want it to look like the sun is coming from that direction. And then the center of the flame will be closer to yellow. And there we go. Actually, let's... There we go. Okay. That is a jetpack now. I hope you like it. So, let me just save it to the resources. I'll call it jetpack.png. Actually, no, I have to resize it first. Now we'll save it. So I'll put it in 2D game, resources, textures, jetpack.png. And then I need to open that with GIMP to make it transparent. So let me do that real quick. It shouldn't take too long. Open with GIMP. Only have 9 minutes left, so I think this episode will just get them to exist in the game levels, which should be pretty easy. All right. So there's our jetpack. We'll select those colors, delete them, but first we have to add an alpha channel. Delete it now. Overwrite. And there we go, we're done. That's pretty easy. So next, we need to go to the assets class and add a new line. Call this one jetpack. Jetpack equals image loader dot load image. Path should be textures slash jetpack dot png. And that line. And then, oh yes, in the thing there, we need to make a static array list. That will be of type string. Yes, let's import array list. And we'll call it power-ups. Okay, and then oh yeah, and actually this should not be public, it should be private. Private static. Oh, I already have one called power. Great. So power equals power-ups dot get math dot random times power-ups dot size. We need to round that down to the nearest integer. And there we go. We also should set a buffered image that will, like here in the render class, it just grabs the player asset from there, but we don't want to do that. So instead what we'll do is private buffered image sprite, and then if power dot equals jetpack. Then, actually, we could probably do it with a switch. Yeah, so switch power. How do you write switches again? I think it's case. No, it wouldn't work as nicely with a string anyway. So if power dot equals jetpack sprite equals assets dot jetpack. Okay. So then let's look at the render method for the enemy, and that should do it. Just copy that code. But then we replace the assets.enemy with sprite. And then one last change to the chunk generation. Let me figure out where it is. Oh wait, no, it's not in chunks. It's not in chunks. It's in level. So where is it that I'm adding enemies? Oh, first actually, I should make an array list, private array list, power ups, new array list power up. And I need to import my own class. Yes, you're a power up. And then we'll basically just do the same thing as up here. So I think it actually goes in the tick class. Yeah. So we'll do a new random thing if math.random is greater than 0.8. And then double offset equals math.random. Actually, why did I just copy all this code? Like, we're gonna do basically the same thing, but I want power ups to be more rare. In fact, that's not rare enough. 0.9. And then power up, new power up equals new power up, game, chunks length minus int offset 0 this. Actually, I forgot what the what the constructor for this was. And x, y, width, height, level game. Okay, so we did x, so that would be chunk length minus offset, and then we need the y, which we'll set to 0, and then it needs a width and a height. We can remove that, and ooh, actually, yeah, okay, we'll just do 16 and 16, because that sets it to be half the player's height, I think. And then after that, we need to set the level and then the game. So this and then game. Minus offset, they want that as a double, or they want that as a float. Oh, and now they're happy. Okay. Sounds good. If powerups.size is greater than 10, powerups.remove the first one. Alright. And with that, we should have power-ups added to the game, I think. Let's see if that theory is correct. Nope. Nope. Null pointer exception. Okay. It's at ht's.powerup on line 18. Ooh, okay. Yeah, probably should initialize that to something. So actually it shouldn't be an array list, it should be a string array called power-ups. And we'll do it like that. Dot length equals new actually equals, and then I think I can just add strings to this, right? I haven't. Yeah, jetpack. Okay, should be that simple. Let's try that. Yeah, I know it's running. Okay, I haven't had to write a string array in a long time. I basically completely forgot how to do it. Okay, we've got enemies. Where are the jetpacks? That's odd. Let's let's have a little. Oh, I forgot to actually add it to the list. Powerups.add new powerup. Duh. And then it will actually get ticked and rendered like it was supposed to be in the first place. And then in the next video, we'll set up the logic for what happens. Oh, hi. Okay, maybe they should not knock you back as much, because they really hit you hard. Yes, they hit you way too hard. Okay, that's gonna have to it's gonna have to go down a lot. 10. Yeah, 1/10 of their momentum on the x-axis, because that was way too hard. Although that was nothing. Okay, that's better. That's not, now it's too little though, so I'll have to tweak that. And now I'm not sure if they're getting added. This is gonna be another long episode because I want to make sure that they are being. Oh, I know why. I know why. I forgot to add it to the tick and render methods. Duh. That wouldn't be here, or here, or here, or here. It would be in. Let's just collapse all this so I can read it better. Okay, so in tick, we do player.tick, and then we do enemies.tick. Power up in power-ups. And then we also need to render all of them. And so for every power-up in power-ups. Oh. Let's try that. Alright, this is going to be a longer episode, as I said. Just barely, though. Just barely. That now they'll actually get rendered, hopefully. Silly me forgets how to use. There it is. There is a little jetpack. Can't pick it up yet because I haven't added any logic to that yet. It's gonna run off that cliff and disappear. Alright, so yeah, next episode we'll actually do something with the jetpack. That'll be cool, right? I think so. Alright, so I'll see you next time.